What time is it? Let me check my watch. Oh, it's bone o'clock. In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie Schwartz.
I'm Katelyn Hart, and we are so excited because we have a third person on our show today. We have comedian Kayla Teel, Seattle comedian, I should say.
Hello. Yes, Seattle is where I live.
International comedian Kayla Teel.
Yes.
Actually, it's not entirely true. I did move to the suburbs last year.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, a little more space for this fine winter we just had.
Yikes. Yeah, it was a real stinker.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I really love your podcast. I was so stoked when it came out and I started listening to it. I'm a big fan.
Aw,
Thank you.
you're too sweet. I did not know. We've been friends for a little while in the comedy scene together, but I did not know that you were such a fan of true crime and bones. Can you speak a little bit about where that interest comes from for you?
Sure. I mean, my true crime interest definitely comes from fear.
Same. Yeah.
And I think I was an early listener of My Favorite Murder, so that classic path led me to true crime. And I don't remember before that how interested I was or what specials I watched, but I certainly am interested now. Last few years, I watch all the things, listen to what I can.
Yeah, some things you just you start it and it's like, oh, I actually can't handle this, and that's okay.
Sure, definitely. But yeah, definitely an interest born out of anxiety and fear, and just I think a lot of young women have that as well, where it's like, oh, all the victims of X, Y, and Z are all kind of my demographic. I should learn as much about this as possible to avoid it happening to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember listening to some true crime podcast. I forget which one it was, but they were talking about Ted Bundy, and they were talking about how he was murdering women in Seattle who had long brown hair, center parted, and I just kind of looked up to the window that was right across from me and saw staring back at me a woman with middle parted hair with long brown hair, and I was like, Bundy, you would have gotten me.
and he was striking a lot in the U district, and I hang out in the U district all the time, and probably drive past the houses he committed his atrocities in. And then Lake Sammamish is another site whenever I'm there.
Ooh.
I'm like, ooh, this parking lot gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Creepy. I used to live in the U District, and then I made the mistake of watching one of the Ted Bundy documentaries on Netflix, one of the newer ones, and was watching footage and was just like, oh my God, that is down the street from me. Just horrifying. I mean, obviously years and years ago, but still just, it made me want to leave.
Right. And then the Green River Killer too. That's another one that's a little close to home.
Oof. We're rich in our serial killer history here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, should we get right into it?
Yeah, on the subject of true crime.
All right, if we're gonna be criminals, we might as well.
Wait, hold it. Wait. Wait, Katelyn, you want to be the criminals? I thought we were solving the crimes.
I was trying to be funny, and then it ended up just being kind of wrong. So I apologize.
No, never apologize. I just didn't know that we were going to be the criminals, which is fine.
Yeah, I should check in on you before I make any more jokes today.
I'm just going to be in the car with you sometime, and we're going to pull up in front of a bank, and you're going to hand me a ski mask and be like, we're doing this, bitch. I'll be like,
well, that's the kind of friendship that I demand from my close female friends.
Well, you know me, I'm ride or die.
Well, let me tell you a story, and we're not going to do any of the things that these people do. This is the story of Charlie Starkweather and Carol Ann Fugate. This story takes place in about the 50s mostly in Nebraska, but also into Wyoming. So let's get right into it. So the bad guy, his name is Charlie Starkweather. His name is Charles, but he goes by Charlie, one of those people.
Charlie Starkweather is a very 1950s hello, it's me, Charlie Starkweather. I'm here to murder you.
Would you like a cigarette?
Why, yes, I would. I never like to smoke without dying or die without smoking. There it is.
So this asshole is the third child of Guy and Helen Starkweather. He's born in 1938 in Lincoln, Nebraska. He had, quote, a solidly middle-class life. So thank you for that detail. I should say my sources. An article from allthat'sinteresting.com, an article from NBC News, and then an article from history.com.
Now back to the thoroughly middle-class man.
Yeah. So he's living his middle-class life. His dad is a carpenter, but he also had rheumatoid arthritis. So he would kind of work when he could, and then he would be unemployed for a while because it sounds like his disease was pretty crippling. Mom, Helen, would work as a waitress when the family needed extra money. So Starkweather had, as I've said, solidly middle class, and seems like he didn't have a bad home life, but he was bullied very badly at school. He was slightly bow-legged, which I'm like, so does that, I'm so sorry. Does that mean that you walk like your feet? What does it mean to be bow-legged? Does anyone know?
I am bow-legged.
Oh no.
At least a little bit, I think.
Yeah,
where your feet are touching, but your knees don't touch. They go.
Got it.
Bowed.
Okay. I hope nobody bullied you for this.
I don't think I even noticed till later in life.
Oh, good.
Thank God for that. Yeah, I just always think of cowboys because they did so much horseback riding that they had kind of they had horse butt. Okay.
Okay. So he was bow-legged and he had a stutter, so other kids bullied him mercilessly, which we are not an advocate for. But so basically the bullying, and he got really into working out.
Oh no.
Never a good sign.
If he was on Instagram, he's on that whole game.
Oh my God.
Hi, follow me. I'm Charlie Starkweather. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and my workout Twitch.
His username is Charlie Swoleweather.
Oh. So around the time of his teenage years, he starts watching James Dean movies, and he really gets attached to the mannerisms of James Dean and kind of the outcast bad boy persona.
Uh-oh. Another red flag on the field.
He drops out of high school and then works at a newspaper warehouse to pay the bills. At this job, he meets Carol Ann Fugate. He was 18 at the time and she was 13.
Oh,
so we're not into it. This is 1956, by the way.
I feel like that's past when that's seen as okay, right? Well, tell me it is.
It's very much on the edge. The age of consent in Nebraska then and now is 16. So not good at all. He is in high school, so he's, presumably he's 17 or 18, but still no good.
But
no bueno.
Developmentally, there's so much room between 13 and 18.
Definitely.
I feel like that's a huge leap. 13 to me is a kid. 18 is way closer to adult.
It's like a senior in high school dating a 7th grader. That's just
that's really gross.
That's
gross. Hated that.
Yeah.
I don't mean I hated that because I did it. I hated seeing that happening. Just there's just something not quite right about that. If you give it 2-3 more years, there won't be that, it's not as big of a deal. But yeah. So guess what? Their relationship sucks.
Oh, who could have predicted that?
Yeah. So it sounds like he just gets into a lot of fights all the time, and eventually he gets banished from her family home just because he keeps like doing bullshit.
I mean, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't work. So here's where things take a turn. So he was just kind of a bad guy, a lot of aggression. He would maybe plan to do bad things, think about it, but never did until November 30th, 1957. Some reports say December 1st, but either on or around November 30th, 1957, he tried to get a stuffed animal for his girlfriend at the gas station on credit. But I don't think that was a thing in 1957.
Like with a
Or
credit
if it
card?
was, like, I mean, like, yeah, I don't like he just wanted to take it and come back and pay for it later, basically.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
And when, of course, the attendant was like, no, we're not gonna do that, Charlie allegedly took him out into the woods and shot him in the head.
Oh my
Um,
God.
Yeah. Bad, horrible. This is just the beginning, so buckle in.
As a former Build-A-Bear employee, I can confirm that a lot of shady boyfriends come in to get their girlfriends bears.
I bet. Oh my God.
Wait, do you have any? I'm sorry, Katelyn, but I must
No,
know.
please.
Please tell us, like, do you have some wild Build-A-Bear? Do you have a wild Build-A-Bear story? Like,
I mean, I did actually tell Katelyn this after her story on the podcast about the Disneyland ashes, how people would bring ashes in and try to put them in bears. So that was a thing. And
I assume that was not allowed?
It was, but a manager had to handle it. So, like,
Sure.
one time a guy came up with a bag of ashes and I had to go get the manager, and the manager did it. But
Oh my God.
What
No,
do you even say to your manager? Like, hi, this guy has a human remains. He would like to put them in the bear.
we got a code red.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
Code bear? I don't know.
Yeah. So that happened a couple times, but it was a lot of dudes who I would get kind of like shittily hit on by guys who were like with their children or getting a bear for their girlfriend, and I was just like, ugh.
Oh, that's
Gross.
creepy. But I do think the human remains in the teddy bears is a little sweet. I mean, it's a little buck wild, but it makes sense kind of on a level.
Yeah, it's a very sentimental thing, and people came in for bears for all sorts of things. Proposals, promposals. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's fun. We'll have to talk more about this another time. I'm fascinated by it.
Sure thing. Anytime.
You, me, we'll sit down, glass of wine, talk about Build-A-Bear.
Sounds great, actually.
The day you both get your second shots, plan for that.
Love it.
Yeah, I'll see you at Bear Time Happy Hour.
Well, in all my time, I
So-
never saw anyone killed over a bear. So this is wild.
Good.
Yes, thank
We
you
like
for bringing
that.
it home. Yeah.
Less than a month later, it's January 21st, 1958. Charlie goes to Carol's house where he is not allowed to be. And Carol's mother and stepfather try to get him to leave, stay away from their daughter, and he kills both of them. This part sucks really, really bad. He also killed his girlfriend's 2.5-year-old sister.
Oh my God, this guy's a fucking monster.
Total piece of shit. So at this point, the two of them camp out in the house for a few days, and they put a sign on the window or on the door, whatever, that says sick with flu. So nobody comes in.
Is it just the two of them?
Yes. Yes,
And
with
was-
the dead bodies.
Was she in on it? Is she upset? Like,
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that at the end, I think.
Okay.
I want to get your opinions on it before, like, I want to give you the story and then I want to get your opinions on it.
okay.
And they're
So-
they're still 13 and 18?
She's 14 by this point and he's 18 or 19.
Oh, so much better.
Yeah, we're really growing as people together.
Oh, Lord.
So they hang out in the house, the quarantine house, for a few days, and then Charlie and Carol go to a family friend's house. His name is August Meyer, and he's 70 years old. He's a neighbor or somebody, and I don't think there's a they. I don't think Charlie did this. He shot August Meyer and August's dog, which is like, why? Just why, dude?
Don't shoot August Meyer. That name is so cool.
I know. There was no reason to either. I think maybe they just wanted a car or money, or not really sure why they did this, but they drive away, presumably in Meyer's car, and the car gets stuck in the mud, and two teenagers come to help them. Their names are Robert Jensen and Carol King. After they get the car stuck out of the mud, Charlie just thanks them by shooting both of them fatally.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Allegedly, I know, this guy's a piece of shit. Allegedly, Charlie tries to rape Carol King before he kills her and fails. I don't really want to get into that. Charlie claims later on that Carol shot the woman to death, but Carol always denies any involvement in the case. Next, they go to just a random person's house. His name is C. Lauer Ward. They stab his maid to death, kill the dog again, which, like, what is it with this guy? And I mean, I'm more upset about the murders, obviously, but why does he keep killing dogs? And then he kills the Wards, Clara and C. Lauer Ward. So they rob the Ward's house, and then they need a new getaway vehicle. And they come across this poor man in a Buick sleeping outside. His name is Merle Collison. So many good names in this story.
Yeah.
They carjack him and kill him. And again, later on, Charlie's going to claim that Carol killed him, but she is going to deny it. So Charlie's trying to get away, and he can't figure out how to work this Buick. Like, he just is a bad driver or something.
Maybe it was stick?
Maybe, yeah. It just says, quote, there was a brake mechanism that was unfamiliar to Charles Starkweather. And as a result, the car stalled when he was trying to drive away.
I'm Charles Starkweather, and I'm unfamiliar with brakes.
I only go fast. I never stop.
They're thinking they're so slick, like Bonnie and Clyde. They're about to
Yep.
make their big exit, and the car just sputters.
Yeah.
Honey, I regret to inform you, I don't know how to drive.
Cigarette?
So another person, his name is Joe Sprinkle. He's driving by, and I'm sorry, I couldn't just breeze over that. Yes, his name is Joe Sprinkle. He's driving by.
Joe Sprinkle. I want him to make it through this.
Guess what? He is going to make it through.
Ugh.
Starkweather threatens Sprinkle with the gun. And just in time, a deputy shows up, and the deputy shows up, and Carol immediately runs to him and like says, Charlie over here is the murderer. Hi, can you please get him out of here? Doesn't work. Charlie, quote, ropes her into a high-speed chase with the deputies, and that eventually ends when Charlie pulls over. He gets shot in the ear and pulls over.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Thus ending their murder spree, Charlie's murder spree. All in all, he is responsible for 10 deaths plus the death of the gas station attendant. So 11 murders.
I
know.
Say, why doesn't he count?
He does. He does. It was a little bit before. It was a little bit before the like spree. The spree was 10 people, and like a month before the spree, he killed one person, and I guess totally got away with it.
Got it. Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah, so he's arrested, of course, and he's charged with first-degree murder for Robert Jensen, who was one of the teenagers that tried to help them get out of the mud. I'm guessing that he was only charged with that murder, like we've said in previous cases, where they only, if there's a bunch of cases that are connected to one person, they only charge them for one murder or two, just in case something goes wrong with the case and they need to prosecute them for something else without double jeopardy. So I'm hoping that's what happened, because it seems like they had enough evidence to know Charlie did all this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Charlie willingly chooses to be extradited from Wyoming to Nebraska. He thinks that prosecutors there won't seek the death penalty because the Nebraska governor is against execution. But he's wrong. The governor, quote, changes his tune specifically for Starkweather.
Ouch. Oof. You go over to
Yeah.
Nebraska thinking you're going to get a little bit of leniency, and they're like, no, we've heard of you, and because of you, you're fucked and
You suck.
Yeah.
So he's an asshole during the crimes, and guess what? He's still an asshole at the trial. He changes his story. Sometimes he says that his girlfriend wasn't there at all, and then sometimes he says she's a willing participant. At one point, his own lawyers try to prove that he's insane to like get him off of these charges. But ultimately, he's convicted of murder, and he is sentenced to death by electric chair, which is carried out on June 25th, 1959. This is just creepy to me. He's buried in the same cemetery in Lincoln, Nebraska, where 5 of his victims are also buried.
Ooh, strange.
I don't know why that gives me the creeps, but it just, I don't like it.
Yeah. It's like forget which case this was, but a murderous husband was buried with his family.
Oh, the Lawson family.
The Lawsons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the raisins on the cake.
Those damn raisins.
Yeah. So let's talk about Carol Ann Fugate. I kind of alluded to this. I bet you can guess what I think, basically. She says that she was a hostage throughout all of this, and I tend to agree with her. What do you guys think?
She's so young, and this guy is such an asshole.
Exactly.
It's hard to say how much, he obviously had a huge influence on her and convinced her and roped her into a high-speed car chase.
Right. What the fuck?
But her first encounter with law enforcement, she was like, hey, help me. And
Exactly. So I don't think she was a willing participant. I don't think she killed anybody. I think she was a victim as well. So what do you think?
I think she was definitely a victim because, kind of like we were talking about, the age gap. Like, he is so much older than her and seems like he's a very manipulative person. And you said that they didn't have a great relationship. I imagined he was pretty abusive. And
I can only imagine. I think,
I think a lot of that, I think you can go into survival mode and be a part of stuff that you would not normally be a part of, because your right brain maybe would say it's time to run out the window or try to escape. We don't know if she tried to do that. We don't know, what their relationship was like. But I'd say if that was me, as hard as this is to say, would you not just sit there in horrible traumatized fear? You're a 14-year-old girl. What are you going to do? This guy's running around killing everybody. You know exactly what he's going to do to you if you pipe up. You've seen 10 people get killed. I can't imagine. Yeah, I just can't imagine that she was a part of the violence in killing people. I don't know. That's what I believed.
Well, we're in good company. So she actually, on November 21st, 1958, so before Charlie was executed, she was given a life sentence for her role in the crimes. At the time, she was the youngest person in America to be tried for first-degree murder.
Wow.
She was paroled 18 years later for good behavior. She got married and changed her name to Carol Ann Clare. And I think she lives in Michigan now. I read that somewhere and now I didn't write it down and now I wish I had. So she's in the news, or she was in the news pretty recently. In February 2020, she tried to get a pardon from the Nebraska Pardons Board, and her request was denied with a vote of 3-0 from this board, which is the Nebraska governor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state, who are all Republicans, just FYI.
I wonder if there's any record, public record of that. What information do they have that made them not pardon this? How old woman? Like she was born.
She's
before?
76 now. She wrote she
I'm
wrote in her
sorry.
application. What?
I was just laughing at these terrible old Republicans telling this old traumatized woman, "You're still a murderer, lady." She's like, "Oh, my bones."
So she wrote in her application that, quote, "The perception that she willingly joined Starkweather on a murder spree is too much for me to bear anymore. Receiving a pardon may somehow alleviate this terrible burden." So one of the dudes on the board, his name is Peterson. Which one is he? Oh, he's the Attorney General. The Attorney General said he denied the application, quote, "because the purpose of the Pardons Board is to restore a felon's rights, and Claire's request was much, much broader than what board members could offer. That's not the role of the Pardons Board."
To pardon.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he means there. Like, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but he's saying that because she just wants to clear her name and have a, that's not the point of what they do. But
That's what I
yeah.
got from it. Was
Yeah,
that they're like,
I'm not really, I don't
lady,
get it.
this isn't what this is for, so we're not going to pardon you, even if it would help you in the last years of your fucking life.
Exactly. So this has happened once before. I guess she applied for a pardon in 96 and it was rejected again. This time around in February 2020, she had the granddaughter of two of Charlie's victims like on her side completely. This woman's name is Liza Ward. She lives in Duxbury, Massachusetts, and she is completely convinced that this woman didn't kill her grandparents and wasn't included or involved in all of the murderous activities.
Mm-hmm.
She said that she did a bunch of research on the case and visited all the sites where people were killed, and that's how she ended up deciding that Carol is innocent. The prosecution's main witness against her in the trial that put her away was fucking Charlie Starkweather,
Oh
the
my
murderer.
God.
So,
Wow.
It doesn't make a lot of sense why they just refuse to even hear her side of the story.
And they're simultaneously trying to argue that Charlie's insane and that's why he committed these crimes, and they're using him as a witness against his girlfriend. That's
Exactly.
a bummer.
Exactly. And so he's not a reliable witness. I mentioned earlier he changes his story multiple times, and he was maybe a little bit upset because his girlfriend had just turned him into the cops and said she wanted nothing to do with him anymore. So do you think he's a reliable witness? No, I don't. So Liza Ward is on Carol's side. There's another relative of another victim. His name is Dave Ellis. I don't like what he has to say. I'm sorry for his loss, but, quote, "Ellis said he believes Claire killed his first cousin once removed, Carol King, because King's body was partially mutilated after Starkweather raped her. Ellis said he thinks Claire mutilated her out of female rage."
Wow.
That's some sexist speculation that
Yeah.
isn't needed at all.
No, not at all.
Also,
yeah. Again, like I said, sorry for his loss. I don't like that his first cousin was killed, but I don't like that justification.
well, I feel like that's something present in a lot of male serial killers, is mutilating their victims after they kill them. I don't think I may be completely wrong, but I don't think that I can think of off the top of my head like a female killer who did that. But
yeah. So that's pretty much how it all ends. Charlie Starkweather is dead. His former girlfriend has not spent her entire life in jail, but she did spend 18 years of her life in jail and just wants to clear her name. Now that she's out, she doesn't really have any reason to, she's not trying to get herself out of jail. She just wants to clear her name, which I don't know why you would go through all this trouble if you were guilty, honestly. Just to wrap things up, this crime spree actually inspired a bunch of movies and songs. So I've never heard of this one. It's from 1973. It's called Badlands, but it has Sissy Spacek and Martin Sheen in it.
This is a movie?
I guess. Yes. The killings were the subject of Nebraska, which is Bruce Springsteen's song. And the killings are also referenced in Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
Wow. So it was a big cultural event.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Very, very shocking for the time. It would be shocking now, but I think particularly they'd never seen any kind of case like this.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's Charlie for you. Charlie the fucking asshole.
He's an interesting kind of serial killer because he wasn't methodical. He wasn't like, it was all like crimes of passion, all strung in a row. Like he got some kind of power trip by it. And back then, it was like, if you really were a serial killer and you wanted to kill, it was a way easier to get away with it. We're still 30, 40 years out of DNA technology.
Yep.
And he just started shooting people in broad daylight. What an idiot.
Hate him. Rotten piece.
For a man with such a fancy name, he turned out to be such a scumbag. Cigarette? Well, I'll go next for a fun kind of mid-episode bone distraction.
Are you going to lighten the mood? Please lighten the mood for us.
Kind of, maybe.
Uh-oh.
It's bones, Katelyn.
You're right.
This is a podcast.
That's right. I forgot.
Centers on dead things a lot of the time. But I'm going to be talking about something really cool. I went more historical bones, and I went for something that has a bit of magic to it, a bit of adventure to it. There's Soviets involved, but we're going to be talking about the Tomb of Timur, which is Gur-e-Amir, which is in modern day Uzbekistan. Let me rattle off my sources for you really quickly. We have historytoday.com, ca.armator.com, adventor.com, Wikipedia twice, lonelyplanet.com, and medium.com. Let me shoot you a picture really quickly, the two of you.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what am I looking at? This is beautiful.
So what you're basically looking at is a tomb that was not originally built, but does house Timur, who was a Turco-Mongol conqueror who founded the Timurid Empire, which would be in modern day Afghanistan, Iraq, and Central Asia. And he's one of the first dynastic rulers of that area. He was known to be a violent conqueror who brought the Islamic faith to many different groups of people. And what you're looking at is his beautiful tomb. I'll cover this a little bit later, but this architecture might look a little familiar to you because this tomb was inspiration for a few other monuments like this, including the Taj Mahal.
I knew that was coming. It does have a very Taj Mahal kind of look.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
And of course, listeners, you can take a look at this beautiful tomb if you pop on to our Instagram or our website. That's where you can find it. Let's talk a little bit about the guy behind the tomb, or inside the tomb, as it were.
Zinger!
Pa-pow. So he was born into the Barlas Confederation in Transoxina, which is in modern day Uzbekistan, and he was born on April 9th, 1336. So quite a time ago. He was the son of the chief of a nomadic tribe of it's a Turkish Mongolian tribe of shepherds from the highlands of Asia. And Timur would become, like I said, a pretty influential military power, but he started off as a sheep rustler. He He took sheep, he stole sheep, he raised sheep, he hung out with them. He lost his mother very early on in his life and experienced a lot of violence during his youth. When he was a sheep rustler and bandit, he was injured in a fight that he had with some people he was trying to steal some sheep from. So fair.
Classic.
Yeah. And
Classic sheep fight.
he got into what we would call a classic sheep fight. Which, of course, as we all know, leaves you with injuries to your right leg and unable to raise your right arm. Yeah, so it was actually a pretty serious set of injuries that left him, like, I don't love this phrasing, but he was described as lame, quote unquote, in a lot of texts, which, you know, of course has a different connotation now, but I think it just meant that he had a physical disability and walked with a limp. Timur, as he was growing up, began to build a force. So Timur began to build up several hundred horsemen as his military force, and he started working with different Mongol tribes. And he started his career of being a conqueror through his, you know, awesome army that he raised. He seized Samarkand. And then after that, he married a woman who was a descendant of Genghis Khan, which was really important to him because Genghis Khan was kind of his role model. He was like wanting to be in the footsteps of Genghis Khan in his cruelty and in the scope of his power.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that he went from like conquering sheep to conquering armies.
Well, he started working with different Mongol tribes, and I think what he ended up doing was making a lot of friends, gaining a lot of influence, and started to unite tribes underneath his rule. So he's amassing these armies of different types of people kind of under his umbrella of let's go kick some ass and take what isn't ours.
Sure.
Also, I found this interesting. So we just talked about the wife that he married, but throughout his life, he would have 43 wives and concubines. And all of these women were also his consorts. And he basically, it's very shitty, but I think what he would do is after he would go and conquer a place, he would be like, and now your wife is my wife.
Okay.
He's starting to sound a bit like a cult leader here.
Yes, one could say that building a dynasty is a lot like building a cult.
True.
And kind of like a cult leader, there's a lot of violence present throughout this. He's ruthlessly conquering from Damascus to Delhi. He destroyed the Golden Horde. He conquered Persia, Mesopotamia. He invaded Russia, Georgia, India, Syria, and Turkey. So this dude is all over the fucking map.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
And he had a favorite thing that he would do when he got to a new place. He did this in Baghdad. He beheaded about 90,000 people so that he could build a little tower out of their skulls.
Whoa.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh,
Heinous.
God.
Yuck. It was for cosmetic reason. That's gross.
Oh, it's
What an
very
asshole.
gross. It's
I was on
horrible.
his side when he was with sheep. Now the heads, I'm not on his side anymore.
No. And these acts were very purposeful. Like people would hear about the skull pyramid towers and that message would transfer from city to city, what he did. In Turkey, when he showed up there, they were like, we're gonna surrender if you don't do any bloodshed, we're just gonna surrender. And he was like, yeah, won't do any bloodshed. Cut to him burying alive 3,000 prisoners. And he's standing next to the hole going, kept my promise, none of them are bleeding.
I'm getting the finale of Game of Thrones vibes. Daenerys killing all these people even though there was no need.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
like I said,
that was not a good comparison. Goodbye.
I
This
mean,
does feel very Game of Thronesy though. in some way.
Okay, thanks.
I agree with that it's almost a fantasy level amount of violence.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easier to think about it in those terms because I just can't even imagine. I can't even. Yeah, 3,000 people buried alive and a pyramid of 90,000 heads. My mind is reeling.
I mean, one or the other. Come on.
Take your pick, dude. You can't get greedy.
But like I said before, these atrocities are purposeful. They're tactical. They're for other people to hear about so that when he rolls up to other cities, they just flat out surrender. They don't want to deal with that. They know that he is capable of horrific shit. So he does this all really in the name of, or he justifies it by saying that he's spreading the Islamic faith. And he's trying, his campaigns were against Christians and Hindus. But of course, he also attacked Muslims, saying that they were bad Muslims. So this guy is full of shit. He is not doing this for the Islamic faith. He is doing this because he's on a fucking power trip. Like our friend, what's our fancy friend's name?
Charlie Starkweather.
He's a proto Charlie Starkweather. No, Charlie Starkweather fucking wishes. But
honestly, probably.
Honestly, probably. But so Timur, he's really batting 1,000 at this point, and he's wanting to go invade Ming China because that's kind of the next frontier for him is China. And he usually likes to fight his battles in the spring. He's a spring guy. I love spring, great for a battle. But this time he decided to set out in the winter time. And in December of 1404, Timur began his military campaign against Ming China. And he was able to detain a Ming envoy, but he ended up getting sick. And he was sick for a little while and he couldn't be cured. And then he ended up dying on February 17th, 1405. And they hadn't even reached the Chinese border.
Wow. So on the road, he passed.
Yeah, on the road, he kicked the bucket. And they kind of called off the Chinese expedition because their heart just wasn't in it anymore.
Maybe they poisoned him or something. They were like, we don't want to do this.
Maybe.
We're done.
Wishful thinking.
Todd's in the back and he's like, I don't want to build another skull pyramid.
I'm tired. Can we go home?
Can we go home? I want to do this. I got friends in Ming China. So he dies on the way to China, and because the pass, there's a pass that a mountain pass that they would have to go to get to the tomb that he actually built for himself, but it was so snowed in that they instead decided to go and bury him at Gur-e-Amir, which is where we come back to this beautiful tomb that we were talking about. He had originally built it for his grandson who had died the previous year, but it was more convenient to bury him there as well. In the Gur-Amir mausoleum, he was buried in a steel coffin under a slab of black jade that was 6 feet long, which at the time was the largest piece of that kind of stone in the world. It's beautiful. And there was an inscription on the stone that reads, quote, "This is the resting place of the illustrious and merciful monarch, the most great sultan,
merciful,
the most mighty warrior, Lord Timur, conqueror of the world." He was not merciful.
You can't be merciful and a conqueror of the world, in the same sentence, I feel like.
No. Someone with hundreds of thousands of lives on their hands, or deaths on their hands, can't be merciful.
No. He was buried in this beautiful tomb. He had built himself a more simple crypt, but like we said, they weren't able to get back to that crypt in time. But he was embalmed, which is going to come up later. The Gur-Amir occupies an important place in the history of Central Asian architecture. Like I said, it was a precursor to the Taj Mahal and other tombs of the time. Mm-hmm. Read my magazine, Tombs of the Time. So Gir-e-Amar is Persian for Tomb of the King, and it has a very complex architecture. It has an azure dome, which contains the tombs of course, our guy Timur, his sons, also two of his grandsons, also his teacher, Timir's teacher.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well, that's nice, I guess. I don't know. Nothing this guy does makes sense to me.
Yeah. But so it's got that beautiful dome on the top and the 4 spinnerets, and then that beautiful portal in the front. Inwardly, the mausoleum appears as a large, high-ceilinged chamber with deep niches at the sides and lots of decoration. The lower part of the walls are covered by onyx slabs composed as one panel. Each of these slabs is decorated with paintings, and above the panel there are marble stalactite cornices.
Oh,
so like
okay.
stuff that like hangs down. Basically, I won't read this whole description. There are many great videos on YouTube of people walking around inside of there, but the inside of the dome is just as ornate as the outside. But one of the things that's the most interesting about this is that this tomb is said to be cursed.
Oh, classic. You can't get to where you've had 100,000 plus deaths on your hands and not get cursed.
Yeah, there's an evil man spirit in there. Of course it's cursed.
It's got a terrible evil dude in it. As we were kind of talking about this, King Timur was revered by other kings and conquerors of the time for his terrible bloodshed. In 1740, King Nader Shah of the Afsharid Empire tried to carry away Timur's sarcophagus because he really idolized him. He wanted to be like him. So, of course, he wanted to steal his body.
Love it. Need it.
Will you remind me what sarcophagus means? That just means his whole...
Like his outer coffin, like decorated outer coffin box. Think Egyptian, mummies when you take off the thing, the front, the big heavy guy. So, future Sophie here. The difference between a coffin and a sarcophagus is that a coffin is a box that can be made of wood or another material, whereas a sarcophagus is usually specifically stone and is inscribed or decorated somehow. Now back to the show. So he's trying to take that because he idolized Timur's military prowess. But when he tried to do this, the sarcophagus broke in two, and this was seen as a very bad omen. Everyone was kind of freaking out because there is a second inscription that I have not told you about yet that has 2 warnings on it.
Oh, no.
The first reads, quote, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble."
Oh, fuck.
And then the other one says, quote, "Whoever so disturbs my tomb will unleash an invader more terrible than I am."
Ooh.
Oh, God. That's
Let
so
me-
creepy.
Yeah, let me remind you of the Pyramid of Skulls.
Oh, no. We don't need to repeat that.
No. So this guy who broke the sarcophagus in half was said to have bad luck for a long time after, including the near death of his son. And after all of his advisors were like, "Guy, you have got to go put that fucking stone back."
Yes.
He did, and his son recovered.
Oh.
Wow, that is a curse.
Right?
I've never heard of a curse. That's a curse.
Right? Well, at the end of this, we will play my favorite game, which is called Curse or Coincidence. Because the real curse kind of comes into play in the 1940s. In 1941, Russian anthropologists were allowed to do excavations at Gur Amir because at the time Uzbekistan is a Soviet place. It's under Soviet control. So this expedition was led by Mikhail Gerasimov and Tash Muhammad Kari Nivaksov. So local residents and Muslim clergy were like, "Please do not do this. Do not do this. Do not do this." And they completely ignored them.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they didn't listen. Of course not. So
why would the opinions of the people that it belongs to matter?
Or that live there, that know the legends, or whose history it is.
God.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. On June 16th, they begin the excavation. They open the tomb of his sons and then of his grandsons. And then on June 20th, 1942, they open Timir's tomb. Immediately, they smell like a really strong smell of resin and camphor and rose and frankincense. And at that time, British and French scientists thought that might indicate curses. This is the 1940s.
I'm like scared right now. I feel like you're telling me a ghost story.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to. So local elderly people, so after this tomb was opened up, local elderly people were like, this curse is real and it's going to hit and it's going to start affecting people within 3 days. So on June 20th, they opened Timir's tomb. June 22nd, Nazi Germany, under the command of Adolf Hitler, invades the Soviet Union.
What?
The monster unleashed. As foretold on the tomb.
Oh my God. That is batshit.
So, curse or coincidence, ladies?
Oh, that's a curse. Hitler was a curse.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think we can blame all of Hitler's shit on a curse. Many people, of course, link it to the opening of the tomb, but we might point out that World War II began in 1939 with the attack on Poland, and the Barbarossa plan of attack on the USSR was approved by Hitler in 1940, so a year before that the tomb was opened. So maybe not. But so the remains of Timur were sent to Moscow, which is interesting, and then they were given another burial there, which is very interesting. But believers of the curse think that because the turning point of the war came with a victory in the Battle of Stalingrad, which was a really bloody battle, they think that they were able to win that victory because the remains were brought there or reinterred, I guess. But other people would say that the battle was won thanks to the heroism and sacrifice of the soldiers who died there. So, curse or coincidence?
Sounds like they believed in the curse. They very tried to, as respectfully as possible, put him back to rest.
Yeah.
They probably freaked out. And then they won a war and they're like, hooray, it's because we were nice to these remains we took.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, after the Nazi attack began, they wrapped up that excavation very quickly. They were like, close it up, close it up, close it up.
Wow.
Let's get out. Let's go.
Wow.
But I thought that was very interesting. I find curses very interesting, whether it's curse or coincidence or science. I think that this was just the mechanisms of war, but how fitting that opening up the curse of a warlord coincided with such heinous acts in, what was present history then.
World War II.
World War II, baby.
That's funny because when you were first talking about the Pyramid of Skulls and stuff, I was thinking about like Hitler and other mass genocides. Like this just sounded like another one of those.
Yeah, it's the cycles of history are interesting, how they coincide and kind of meet with each other in some ways.
Yes.
Wow.
Good job.
Thanks for coming on that journey with me. I know it was a minute to get there, but
it was exciting.
I just can't believe it. Yeah, the connection to World War II came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, I didn't want to telegraph it because when I was doing the research, I was like, oh, a curse. Like this guy, he had bad luck and his son was fine. And then like I was reading that and then they were like, and then the Nazis attacked. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that to you.
Well, thank you. I haven't heard about a good curse in a while, so.
Again, over a glass of wine, we shall discuss Build-A-Bear and curses.
I would love that so much. So I have a story for y'all today.
Yay!
Or a small collection of stories about one individual. And I'll start with the TLDR,
Ooh.
which is Julie D'Aubigny was a French bisexual opera-singing sword fighter from 17th century France.
Yeah, I'm here for this.
Yay. Known as one of history's greatest rascals, she led a life so wild, complete with duels, grave robbing, and burning convents, that she had to be pardoned by the King of France not once, but twice.
Oh my God, I love this lady.
Yeah, I heard about her on TikTok. It was like something popped up that was like famous bisexuals of history or something like that. And they talked a little bit about her and I was like, oh shit. If I ever find myself on anything bones, I'm talking about this because there's one fun bone part.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. Thank you for this, Kayla.
You're very welcome. Okay, my sources are theculturetrip.com and medium.com. So, Julie D'Aubigny was born in the 1600s in France. Her dad was the secretary to King Louis XIV's Master of Horse.
He was the secretary to the Master of the Horses.
Yes. So she grew up at the palace in France in the stables.
Ooh.
And her dad was also an accomplished swordsman who trained all the court pages how to sword fight and fence and all of that.
Ooh.
So she was raised alongside the boys learning how to sword fight.
Nice.
Which kind of reminds me of like Arya Stark a little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
So, as a teenager, she started to become notorious for her romantic escapades. And I think she married one of her fencing instructors when they discovered that they were hooking up. It was one of those like, oh God, you're hooking up before marriage. You have to get married.
Yeah.
Quickly get married.
Yeah, but then she ran away with another one of her fencing instructors.
Yes.
And so the two of them started just kind of gallivanting around France. They would perform as like fencing demonstrations and singing. They would sing. So, yeah,
At
they're
the same time?
Yeah, I think so. And I heard some stories about how like she would be billed as a woman, but she would dress as a man, and then she would do this sword fighting stuff. And then sometimes she'd get like assholes from the audience that would be like, there's no way a woman can fight like that. No fucking way. And there's a story of her getting heckled like that, and she just opens her blouse and shows her tits to the audience.
Yes. That's how you fucking shut people up. You're like, yeah, titties.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of crazy stories about that, but she started getting into dueling, which was very illegal. But it sounds like a lot of them would start with like some dude being an asshole and her being like, yeah, fight me. And then they would duel, and she like always won. Like she always either killed them or seriously injured them.
Oh,
So,
fuck yeah.
There was one time she went to the king's brother's ball dressed as a man, and she kissed a woman in the middle of the dance floor and was immediately challenged to a duel by 3 men at once. So she took them outside and she beat all 3 of them.
Oh my
Wow.
God. I want to like go back in time and intern with this lady. Like I want to be her to be my mentor. I'm like, how do you do it? Give me that special sauce.
Right. I definitely go back between she's my hero and she needs to chill. So
She's getting up to shit though.
Yes.
Just you wait. So because of that duel, that was a very public duel where she was obviously herself, and she got in trouble. It's very illegal to be dueling, but the king was like kind of amused by her, and obviously she grew up around him and stuff.
Yeah.
And he said he pardoned her because he said the law says nothing about women dueling.
Oh.
Because they didn't like write that in because they didn't believe that a woman could be capable
Right.
of this at all. So the king was like, "Go, you're free to go."
I love this.
I love that.
Yeah, I love this Airbud philosophy towards the law. Well, there's no law against it, you know?
Yeah, there's no law that dogs can't play basketball.
The dogs can't duel.
That's a great comparison.
It is. Damn, I'll never think about Air Bud the same.
I'm just saying it wouldn't be illegal according to French law.
So she got to go free, and I don't know what happened to her fencing instructor, but she was out traipsing around France again, and she fell in love with a woman who was the daughter of a merchant, and they didn't hide their relationship. They were very public about it, and her parents got really upset, the girlfriend's parents, and they sent her away to a convent.
Of course.
Ooh.
Yeah. So she had to go take the holy vows, and Julie was like, "Bitch, I'm a woman too. I'm just gonna go take the holy vows at the same convent."
Yes.
So she goes to the convent, takes the holy vows, and then they start plotting their escape.
Yes.
And this is the fun bone part.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my God.
So Julie, part of Julie's plan is she digs up a grave at the convent of a nun that was buried there and puts the skeleton in her girlfriend's bed.
Oh my God.
And then sets the convent on fire.
Oh my God.
Ooh,
So this is where I'm like, Julie, you need to chill, girl.
I agree. She did not have to go that hard.
No, she went hard. And I don't know how much of this was her plan or how much her girlfriend was in on this, but the idea was to make it look like the girlfriend perished in the fire.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, kind of a
Did they not need two bodies? They just wanted the one?
I don't know. I only read about the one.
Yeah, I guess they would just assume, here's a dead person. It's somebody.
Well,
I don't know.
They tried to make a paper mache one, like the Alcatraz people, but it looked terrible. So they were like, for the second one, we'll dig up a nun.
Yeah, I also am like, why didn't you just like slip out into the night? Like,
Right.
I guess they wanted to create the illusion that the girlfriend had died, so that no one would come looking for them. So they ran away, and apparently weren't very slick because Julie ended up having a bounty on her head again, and she was charged with kidnapping, body snatching, and arson, and was sentenced to die by fire.
Oh no!
So she's on the run. Her and her girlfriend break up. I read that they got, quote, bored of each other.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh no.
They shook hands and parted ways.
It's been
After the
fun.
fire.
Yeah.
All the magic was lost after the fire.
Yeah, I guess so. That was the climax of their relationship. So she finds herself in Paris, where she has another love affair with a famous opera singer named Gabriel Vincent Fenevard, who, while they were together, he auditioned for the Paris Opera and then insisted that Julie also be allowed to audition because she had, quote, the best, well, I don't know if this is a quote, this is the 1600s. But he told them, he's like, my girlfriend's got the best voice I've ever heard. You gotta let her audition.
Oh no.
So she auditions for the opera, and they're like, holy shit, she's amazing. We need to have her in the company. But unfortunately, she's wanted and has been sentenced to death by fire. So the Paris Opera contacts the king and is like, listen, this girl's really talented.
God. Oh my God.
So you have to pardon her. And he does.
Yes.
Oh my God. This
Is
woman.
it the same king?
Yeah, same king. So
Good,
he's like,
good.
he's got like a soft spot for her.
He loves her.
He just picks up the letter and shakes his head. He's like, what have you gotten yourself into this time?
burn down a convent. There's like so much of that particular crime that in a religious society is like big no-nos. You don't disturb a grave, especially of a religious, God-fearing woman, and then burning down a place of worship. Oh my God. And she still got pardoned.
To go do lesbian stuff.
yeah, and to go do lesbian stuff.
I love it.
And then the opera was like, you can't kill her. She's too good at singing.
She's so talented.
Listen, she's too good.
So she led a great career at the Paris Opera.
Oh my
God.
And then this is a quote. I think this is from the culturetrip.com article. It says, Julie d'Aubigny may have been pardoned twice, but she didn't stay out of trouble for long. She threatened to shoot the Duchess of Luxembourg, found herself in court for attacking her landlord, and humiliated the popular Countess Marino. I think she ended up being the maid of the Countess Marino, and she was getting her ready for a grand ball, and she tied a bunch of radishes into her hair. The Countess didn't notice. She went to the ball, and everyone was like, dude, you got radishes in your hair. And she was like,
my God.
My damn maid.
I am humiliated.
My murdering maid.
Truly.
She got me with the radishes.
That's just, now that is just a fun prank. I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caitlin, will you do that to me when everyone's vaccinated and we're out and about? Have some radishes.
Put some radishes.
Yeah.
I'll tie them to you, but it won't be where you expect.
So another lover she took. She's really notorious for all these wild love affairs. And this one was with the Elector of Bavaria. It said that he soon found d'Aubigny too intense after she stabbed herself on stage with a real dagger, and he offered her 40,000 francs on the condition that she leave him alone.
Oh my God. Yes.
And it seems that she died at 33. It didn't say
my
from
God.
what. She was very heartbroken because another love affair after that with the most beautiful woman in France, as this woman was known, she ended up dying of a fever, which I think completely broke Julie's heart. And then I think she died at age 33 at a convent, ironically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Are we sure she's dead?
We don't know. She could still be traipsing around France, flashing her boobs and challenging men to duels.
Yeah, the camera just pans over from like, you know, the body lying in the bed and she's in the window just like, hey, tits out.
If you ever smell radishes on the wind and you don't see any around you, it's her.
It's her. Check your hair.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that is some of the legendary tales of Julie d'Aubigny.
Oh my
Amazing.
God. That was fantastic.
That was so good.
Thank you for bringing this now my favorite historical figure to us. It's wonderful.
Definitely look her up. There's more. There's like, she's just somebody just surrounded by so much lore and legendary tales. It's quite remarkable. And I love that she was openly bi and like unapologetic about that.
Exactly. And that she dressed however she wanted to. And also she got away with so much. I don't know if we know if she served any time for any of this stuff, but all in 33 years.
Yeah. From like age 14 to 33 is like when all those stories were. Epic.
Epic. God, that's the fucking life. You wake up, you go to fencing practice, you fuck your fencing instructor, then you go practice your opera. Shoot a man before dinner.
Wow.
I guess you could say she was a killer, but it was always like somebody challenged her and she was like, fight me. And then she would kill them.
Doesn't seem like she would just do it just cause. She kind of needed to be provoked.
That was fantastic.
Well, that was so great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, okay, 2 questions. One, do you want to plug anything?
I certainly do. I have a new podcast called the Stoner Chicks Podcast, which is a delightful marriage of comedy and women and cannabis. So check it out.
Yes.
Yeah,
we are very excited for your podcast.
Yeah, and there's a trailer that's up.
So it's up on Spotify, Stitcher, and we're still waiting to hear back from old Daddy Apple podcasts.
Oh, Daddy
Oh,
Apple.
no.
He's a crotchety old bitch. He'll get back to you.
Yeah.
He will.
So by the time you hear this, it will be up on there. So yeah, check out Stoner Chicks Podcast.
And it comes out April 2nd, right?
Yeah, the first 2 episodes will be dropped on April 2nd, and we'll have the trailer in that, like an episode 0 before that.
Cool.
Wonderful. Yay, I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah, all the ladies on it are super funny. Sorry. Super funny, super smart ladies.
My other question is, what is your favorite bone, please?
Oh, gosh. Well, there's a specific skeleton of an orca. I know this is not the question.
No. Take us there. Take us there.
There's, yeah, I just had this bone pop into my head. There's a skeleton of an orca at the Whale Museum in Friday Harbor in San Juan Island, Washington, and I like it. I love orcas.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty cool.
We love a
I
good
want to see.
whale bone. Yes.
As far as human bones, I don't really have a favorite. I get creeped out thinking about me having bones.
Sophie said to me the other day, are you freaked out because, what did you say? I don't know how you phrased it, but the punchline was, bones are wet when they're inside you. And I just I can't get it out of my head.
Well, it's because my mom who's
yes.
a nurse practitioner and medical attaché, she sent me on Instagram, she sent me a meme that was like, the question was like, what's like something about the human body, or like what's one thought that like makes you really uncomfortable? Someone had written that your bones are wet.
And she sent you that.
Yeah, my mom is a big supporter of my love of bones. She wanted me to be a nurse so damn bad. I'm sorry,
well,
Mom.
this is pretty close.
Not at all.
I know. All right, everybody, stay strong. We love you. Thanks, Kayla, for coming on again. And we can't wait for your podcast, Stoner Chicks Podcast, dropping on April 2nd. All that I have to say to you now is bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Cigarette?